Claire Duvall stood behind the register of the local grocery store, the fluorescent lights overhead flickering sporadically, casting an unsettling brightness over the colorful stacks of produce. It was a Thursday, and the air was thick with the scent of freshly baked bread mingled with the crisp aroma of ripening fruits. At 35, Claire was acutely aware that her role as a cashier was often seen as invisible, a mere footnote in the bustling lives of the shoppers who drifted in and out. Yet she considered this position vital, a quiet curation of small moments in a world that often felt chaotic and indifferent. She wore her responsibilities like a heavy woolen sweater, cozy yet oppressive. The paycheck she took home each week barely stretched to cover her rent and her daughter Lily's piano lessons, not to mention the mounting stack of bills that loomed over her like dark clouds. Claire's heart was a dual entity. It brimmed with compassion for those around her, yet it bore the weight of her own struggles. With each beep of the scanner as groceries slid down the checkout belt, she felt the familiar gnaw of anxiety mixed with an unyielding determination to create a better life for Lily. That particular Thursday felt especially burdensome. The queue of customers seemed endless, their hurried faces reflecting their own private battles. The headlines blaring from the newspaper stacked near the checkout, another rise in food prices, another family facing eviction, were relentless reminders of the world's harsh realities, gripping her heart in a familiar vice. She couldn't shake the feeling that it could just as easily be her, pushing her own cart through these aisles, scrutinizing every cent as if it were life or death. When the bell above the door tinkled, announcing the arrival of a new customer, Claire instinctively brightened her expression, wrapping her troubles in a fragile veneer of cheer. The newcomer was a weary-looking woman, her face etched with lines of worry, guiding two small children. One was a girl with pigtails, the other a boy clutching a crumpled toy dinosaur. Seeing them stirred memories of Claire's own childhood, filled with the echoes of parental sacrifices as they scraped together just enough for dinner. It was a reminder of the hunger that had haunted her early years, a shadow that fueled her resolve to ensure her daughter never had to experience such deprivation. As the family approached, Claire could read the mother's tension like a book. Every glance towards the scrolling total, a figure that ticked upward with each item she placed on the belt, betrayed her anxiety. Claire felt a pang of empathy. When the little girl piped up, "Mommy, can we get strawberries?" she watched as the mother's eyes darted nervously around, her fingers trembling as they dug through her bag for a wallet she likely wished were fuller. Claire's heart ached at the familiar worry that radiated from the woman. She recognized the silent struggle, the weight of unfulfilled wishes that pressed down on one's chest. Without thinking, Claire decided to act. "How about I throw in those strawberries for you? A little treat might brighten your day." The words spilled from her like sunbeams, though internally, her gut twisted. She knew this act of kindness would come from her already meager paycheck, a choice sprouted from love yet tinged with the anxiety of lingering financial struggle. "Are you sure?" the mother asked, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and embarrassment swirling in her expression. "Absolutely," Claire insisted, placing the strawberries aside with an unwavering smile, her heart dancing with the thought of Lily's joy at the prospect of sweet, ripe berries. But then the total increased to a staggering amount. The mother's brow furrowed deeply, and her voice faltered as she swiped her card, in action that was swiftly met by the cold, disheartening ping of rejection. I'm sorry, I must have miscalculated. Can we put some items back?" At that moment, Claire felt the earth tilting beneath her, the children's disappointed faces striking her like arrows. She was struck by reflections of her own past, a mosaic of hope marred by hardship. Instinctively, she leaned closer to the mother and whispered, "Don't worry, I can cover the rest." The mother's eyes widened in disbelief. "Really? I can't." "You can," Claire whispered softly, her heart pounding with an urgency that felt charged with purpose. "This is just one small way I can help today." Claire rang the items through, watching as the transaction completed and the family left the store, the gratitude glowing in their eyes. Yet, as the bell jingled behind them and they disappeared into the world, a bittersweet heaviness swept over Claire. Her chest felt warm, flickering with the candlelight of her kindness even as uncertainty churned within. Unbeknownst to her, another figure had lingered nearby, a man named Sebastian, clad in a crisp suit that shimmered with subtle hints of opulence. He was accustomed to the luxury and comfort his wealth afforded, yet the day had left him feeling unmoored and detached. Just a few hours earlier, he'd been drowning in boardroom discussions, closing deals for clients who only viewed life through the lens of profit margins. Watching Claire's act of generosity, however, struck a chord deep within him, awakening something he had long ignored. As Claire turned to assist the next customer, Sebastian stepped forward, compelled by a conviction he had never felt before. "Excuse me," he said, his voice warm but gentle, cutting through her reverie. "I couldn't help but overhear. That was an incredibly generous thing you just did." Claire startled, her flustered smile creeping across her face as she met his curious gaze. "Oh, it was just," she hesitated, somehow feeling the weight of the moment's significance, "just doing my part." "Still, your kindness deserves to be recognized," he insisted, a refreshing earnestness imbued in his tone. "How about I cover your next few shifts? It seems you could use a break." Her heart raced at the suggestion, disbelief mixing with gratitude in a dizzying whirl. This was no ordinary offer. Claire had resigned herself to hand-to-mouth living. The notion of financial assistance, breathing room, felt surreal against the backdrop of her daily reality. Staring into Sebastian's sincere eyes, Claire felt a small ember of something stirring in her chest, seeds of hope sprouting from the soil of despair. Perhaps this was what kindness could sow, a bridge, uniting the lives of those who felt isolated in their struggles. Just maybe this unexpected connection could weave a new tapestry of resilience not only for herself but for the entire tapestry of community that surrounded her. As the days turned to weeks, Claire observed the ripple effects of that transformative potluck throughout Maplewood. Each morning, Hart's Grocers buzzed with a newfound energy imbued with the shared warmth of countless exchanges spurred by compassion. Relationships blossomed, former strangers now greeted one another with familiarity, enthusiastic conversations danced in the air, and smiles became the norm rather than the exception. One late afternoon, as Claire sorted through the evening's inventory, a familiar figure strolled through the aisles. Sebastian, always dapper and charismatic. The man had become her unexpected ally in navigating the often turbulent seas of life. He flicked a glance at the colorful handwritten thank you notes adorning the checkout counters, penned by children from the potluck. "Looks like your plan succeeded," he remarked, his tone light yet layered with admiration. Claire laughed lightly, a buoyant sound as it filled the space around them. It was a small idea that truly flourished. "I never imagined we would touch so many families." She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, an old habit evoking an eagerness she felt whenever they conversed. "How've you been?" Sebastian's eyes glinted with mischief. "I've actually been roped into trying your mom's apple pie recipe," he admitted, chuckling softly. "And I see now why everyone was raving. It's delicious, but I'm not sure my culinary talents are quite as extensive." "That's because it's the love that counts," Claire said, grinning as memories of her past wafted through her mind. "But I could show you some tips if you're game." "Consider me signed up," he replied, a ripple of warmth blossoming between them as they shared laughter, their rapport evolving in subtle ways, a connection deepened by shared experiences, and a commitment to supporting their community. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm amber glow through the store's windows, Claire patted the seat beside her at the tiny break table. "Why don't you join me for a moment? It's been busy, but I'd love to hear more about your adventures outside the professional realm." Sebastian settled in, leaning forward, intrigued. "Ventures? I guess you could say they've revolved around fundraising and community development lately. I discovered a charity that focuses on supporting local small businesses, helping to stir life into struggling neighborhoods. It's fulfilling in a way I hadn't expected." Claire's heart swelled at hearing his words. She could see the passion flickering within him, a flame cultivated by these communal efforts. It reminded her of how far she had come, once precariously balancing her responsibilities with the urge to grab hold of her dreams. "That's amazing," she responded, her voice earnest. "I feel like we're all discovering new ways to support each other, to build something larger than ourselves. And it's contagious, isn't it?" "Absolutely," he replied, a smile gracing his lips. "Speaking of which, I noticed the community exchange project you initiated with the leftover ingredients from the potluck. That's brilliant." Claire nodded earnestly, excitement bubbling within her. It's all those little details, the willingness to share even the smallest thing can bring hope, a sense of belonging. I think a lot of people feel overlooked, and I want to change that. I want Lily to grow up in a world where kindness takes root, and we can stand as each other's pillars. Sebastian's expression softened, reflecting the essence of Claire's vision. "You're an inspiring woman, Claire." The sincerity in his eyes sent a flutter through her chest. She met his gaze, their shared enthusiasm wrapping around them like a warm blanket. They lingered in comfortable silence for a moment, the everyday sounds of the grocery store filling the gentle void, before Claire broke the spell. "It's funny, isn't it? How small acts can create such a powerful wave." "It's more than just funny, it's beautiful," he leaned back, the flickering fluorescent lights illuminating the contours of his face. "Perhaps you could take this a step further, develop workshops to teach this sense of community." Her thoughts swirled with possibility, and the spark of inspiration ignited again. Workshops? Together, we could instruct families on bonding over cooking, gardening, or crafts. We could provide a creative outlet. Her voice grew more animated with each word, excitement washing over her. Yes, a culinary collaboration where we can share recipes, traditions, and even host family days. He waved a hand. The idea's flowing. You'd be surprised, I'd wager. How many would show interest? As they spoke, possibilities unfurled between them, each suggestion laced with the excitement of collaboration, creating not just a program but a movement. Claire envisioned families gathering, laughter echoing through the halls of Hart's Grocers, workshops bustling with activity, joy radiating as neighbors learned from one another. Days turned into weeks as their initiative unfurled, resonating with every corner of their community. Children churned out cookies, laughter filling the room as flour hung in the air like confetti from a celebration. Families gathered for gardening nights, planting seeds of both food and friendships, nurturing each other as they nurtured their crops. Through it all, Claire and Sebastian forged a deeper connection, one blossoming through shared aspirations and the thrill of nurturing something meaningful together. It wasn't merely partnership but companionship, two souls rallying behind the purpose of kindness. One fateful evening, with the sun dipping below the horizon once more, Claire could sense the change in the air. They had prepared for a community feast, a culmination of their hard work, each family contributing a dish that symbolized both their heritage and the bonds they had created. As the buzz of chatter filled the space, Claire caught Sebastian's eye. He smiled at her, a warmth that traveled through the space between them. Together, he said softly, pulling her aside amidst the celebration, we've done something extraordinary. Yes, we have, she concurred, her heart pounding with a blend of elation and something else, something deeper. But it's the community that carries this energy. We've merely lit a spark. As the night unfolded, Claire found herself caught in a moment, Sebastian's gaze lingering on her, the connection thickening until her breath caught in her throat. There was something unspoken clinging between them, an acknowledgement of not just their contributions but the shift they had forged within each other. Claire, he began, his voice just above a whisper, I've admired not only your strength but the very spirit you've nurtured within your community. He paused, his expression sultry with something reminiscent of vulnerability. And it inspires me. Gradually, Claire felt herself leaning toward him, the atmosphere sizzling with their shared recognition. You are a lighthouse in the storms of uncertainty, she replied, sincerity brimming in her chest. I'm not just thankful, I'm grateful to have you by my side. Before she realized what was happening, the world around them faded into insignificance as they drew closer, the celebration morphing into a gentle hum. Time hung suspended as they exchanged a glance charged with possibilities, and in that moment their hearts beating as one, their connection uncovered a new path. Does this mean we take our partnership to the next level, he asked, his playful tone laced with a seriousness she couldn't ignore. Claire chuckled, the sound a mixture of nerves and thrill. Let's start with dinner. I promise not to burn your pie recipe, they both laughed, the warmth anchoring them in anticipation of the journey ahead. As she turned to survey the jubilant community, Claire felt an undeniable sense of belonging, threaded tighter with hope and love. They might face uncertainties ahead, yet with each step they wove a rich tapestry of life, one vibrant with kindness, compassion, and connection that promised to light their way, illuminating every part of Maplewood and beyond. And as they dove into this new adventure together, Claire held firmly to one unshakable conviction sometimes. All it takes is a single act of kindness to set off an extraordinary chain reaction that could change everything. Claire Duvall stood by her kitchen window, the golden rays of the late afternoon sun casting warm hues across her baking space. As she kneaded dough for a batch of raspberry tarts, memories of the past year floated through her mind like delicate petals on a breeze. The journey had been marked by transformation not just within herself but throughout Maplewood, a town now vibrant with shared experiences, laughter, and a spirit of togetherness. From that first potluck, each gathering at the community corner had fostered not just individual growth but a collective evolution. Every week, families brought their unique flavors and stories, creating a mosaic rich in diversity and resilience. The commitment to kindness had shifted their interactions, forging bonds that empowered those who once felt isolated. Claire reflected on how a single act had set off an extraordinary wave of love and support, not only for her but for everyone who had entered that grocery store, seeking connection. The thin trail of flour dusting her hands felt like a reminder of the labor and care poured into every meal served at the community corner. Those evenings had bloomed into a celebration of lives weaving seamlessly together, each shared dish a testament to the troubles overcome, and each laugh echoing a promise that no one would face their battles alone. Just then, the sound of giggles drew Claire's attention. Peering out the window, she saw Lily and a group of neighborhood kids racing past the garden, their joyous shouts harmonizing with the singing of the birds. This playful scene was a reminder of the child's transformation. Lily had blossomed alongside her mother's endeavor, forging friendships that delighted Claire's heart. Her shy, uncertain daughter had embraced the world around her, her laughter spinning the thread of connection their community so desperately needed. "Mom, look!" Lily's voice rang with pure delight as she rushed back towards the house, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers, the colors bright against the backdrop of green. "I picked these for you." Claire's heart swelled. The innocence and warmth of her daughter's gesture filled the room with love. "They're beautiful, sweetheart." "Thank you." She knelt to embrace her, swallowing the sudden wave of gratitude and pride that bubbled up inside her. In that moment, Claire realized they were not just cultivating flowers in the garden outside, they were nurturing the seeds of kindness and love within their hearts, planting hopes that would bloom long into the future. As evening fell, Claire prepared for the weekly gathering. The aroma of freshly baked goods wafted through the air, mingling with the anticipation that buzzed brightly in the atmosphere. Families would soon arrive, each bringing their stories, each sharing parts of themselves on this vibrant canvas of community. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, the grocery store transformed into a delightful hub of warmth and laughter. The flickering string lights created a cozy glow, illuminating the faces of friends and neighbors who had become family through shared experiences. The sound of cheerful conversations blended seamlessly with the clinking of dishes being shared, the air rich with delightful scents. The gathering theme for tonight was celebrating our journeys, a reminder of the resilience that had brought them together. Claire stood before the crowd, her heart pounding with anticipation. "Thank you for being here tonight," she began, her voice steady although tinged with emotion. "Together we've built a home, not just in this space, but in each other's hearts. Every dish you bring, every story you share, adds another thread to our tapestry." Applause erupted, and Claire smiled, radiating with empowerment from the energy in the room. It wasn't just her feeling it, the shared pride threaded through the community was palpable. They had taken responsibility for each other. You could see it in the way they looked after their fellow neighbors, their warm invitations to share a meal, and the bonds that had flourished in the laughter and love traipsing through the aisles. "Let's take a moment to share what we're grateful for this year," she continued, inviting her neighbors to participate. One by one, hands shot up in enthusiasm. As members of the community shared their journeys, joy and vulnerability fused in a powerful mix. Stories of challenges faced and overcome rang with authenticity, creating ripples of connection as the room filled with nods of understanding. Life was not easy, but together they were striving. When Jessica stood up next, her voice trembled with emotion. "I want to thank Claire for the vision that sparked this amazing journey. Because of her, I've not only found a community but also the courage to step out of my comfort zone. I feel stronger for my family and committed to giving back." Encouraged, others chimed in, expressing gratitude for newfound friendships, skills learned from cooking to budgeting, and the sense of belonging that had enveloped them all. Claire listened, her cheeks flushing with warmth, each word a gentle reminder of the impact they collectively created not just for themselves but for future generations. As the evening unfolded, laughter echoed, children played games, and adults engaged in deeper conversations. It felt like a tapestry coming alive, threads intertwining under the steadfast glow of kindness and compassion. And at the center of it all was Claire, buoyed by the realization that the seeds planted had flourished beyond anything she had envisioned. In the weeks that followed, the energy from the gatherings propelled plans even further, such as more workshops, a clothing drive, and a mentorship program for local youth. Each interaction sparked initiatives that became symbiotic relationships, aspirational projects born from shared dreams igniting like wildfire. Yet, amidst all this growth, there was something deeper blossoming between Claire and Sebastian. Their partnership had evolved into an unspoken bond of understanding, rooted in shared dreams and the laughter they exchanged at the community corner. He started volunteering regularly, whipping up his family's famous lasagna and engaging with others, each gesture reinforcing the growing friendship. Their conversations flowed easily, flourishing within the rich promise of possibility. One sunny afternoon, after sending Lily to play with her friends at the park, Claire found herself standing at the counter of the grocery store, preparing for another gathering. Sebastian strolled in, a playful smile lighting up his face as he approached her. "Got a minute?" "Always," she replied, leaning against the countertop, sunlight spilling through the window, illuminating the room like a canvas of hope. Hear me out, he began, though excitement danced in his eyes. I've been thinking about how we can elevate our impact even further. What if we partner with local chefs to hold special culinary nights at the community corner? We could not just teach cooking, but also invite people to share their stories behind the recipes. Claire's heart raced with enthusiasm at the thought. That's brilliant. Think of the connections we could create, the lessons shared. It would be a way to celebrate cultural heritage, introducing everyone to new flavors and experiences. The two spent the next hour fleshing out ideas, laughter punctuating their brainstorming session, each thought igniting another as they wrote them down on napkins, their shared fervor sparking anew. In the following days, the announcement of the culinary nights created a wave of excitement. Families began sharing their family recipes, eager to contribute their heritage while also nurturing deeper connections with their neighbors. The ideas transformed into reality, one gathering bleeding into the next, a beautiful tapestry threaded with food, laughter, and the richness of shared stories. As these culinary nights commenced, Claire often found herself standing side by side with Sebastian. The air buzzed with anticipation as neighbors gathered to learn to cook and share, laughter spilling out like sweet melodies wrapped around every corner. Claire watched the dynamic shared between herself and Sebastian grow stronger with each gathering, an invigorating connection fusing the air, a mix of friendship intertwined with the unspoken chemistry developing between them. During one particularly lively evening, after session laughter, Claire caught a moment of silent acknowledgement passed between them, the kind that throbbed with both understanding and curiosity. There, surrounded by friends, they could feel the hue of possibilities lurking just beneath the surface. As the laughter danced in the air, Claire sensed that this blossoming connection was ripe with potential. As the seasons transitioned, the gardens outside the grocery store flourished, vibrant blooms reflecting the thriving community beneath their care. One balmy evening, while enjoying ice cream under the luminous stars, Sebastian turned to Claire, his expression earnest yet playful. I never imagined building connections like this could feel so rewarding. Claire gazed back at him, the warmth in her chest amplifying. It's surprising how much joy comes from just embracing kindness, isn't it? I think we both found our place here, a sense of belonging beyond what we each envisioned. As those words hung in the air, a spark ignited between them, and understanding forged over shared experiences blossomed into a burgeoning friendship, dancing on the edge of something deeper, yet beautifully uncertain. Then one afternoon, while cleaning up after a particularly raucous Friday gathering, Sebastian approached Claire, the sunlight casting shadows on their feet as they swept together. "There's something I've been meaning to ask you." Her heart quickened at his tone, anticipation swirling in her chest. "What is it?" Sebastian paused, searching for the right words, his voice soft yet resolute. "I've enjoyed every moment we've spent together, the laughter, the planning, the friendships we've cultivated. I've been thinking it might be time to explore what it would be like to take our partnership further." Claire's breath caught, hope and apprehension mingling in her chest. "You mean?" "Not just in our community work," he quickly added, leaning in slightly, "but a more personal connection. I feel something special between us, Claire, something worth exploring." A smile broke across Claire's face, relief and excitement mingling in beautiful harmony. "I feel it too, Sebastian. It's like discovering a piece of home I didn't know I was missing." His expression brightened, that warmth illuminating every corner of the dim store. "How about we take it slow? Maybe dinner together, just the two of us?" "Absolutely," Claire replied, her heart singing at the thought of delving deeper into the extraordinary bond they had cultivated amidst the tapestry of community. As they set a date for dinner, Claire realized that just as they had nurtured the garden of connection within Maplewood, so too were they growing something beautiful together. And when that evening finally came, they found themselves wrapped in each other's laughter, storytelling, and most importantly, the understanding that their journey was just beginning, woven together by kindness, propelled by a shared vision, and blossoming into a future rich with love and cherished connection. And in that glowing moment, beneath the stars that illuminated the path they had walked together, Claire understood that this blooming relationship was a reflection of all the possibilities that awaited, a promise of a blossoming future that lay ahead. Each petal a sweet echo of hope lighting their way into tomorrow.